guys, what's happening? What's going on? Welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to the vlog, and welcome to another very special edition how to vlog brought to you by my friends over at Hosa Technology. If you guys aren't familiar with Hosa Technology, they provide connectivity. They basically make cables, but they don't just make like XLR and DMX cables. They also make HDMI, power cables, IEC cables, PowerCon cables, everything in the world of cables. If you need connection between two things, Hosa has you covered. So big shout out to my friends over at Hosa Technology. They're always showing my channel support. Today we're going to talk about weddings, and more specifically we're going to talk about the ceremony and cocktail aspect of a wedding. I'm going to show you guys what equipment I use, how I connect it, and how I go about my process during a wedding. So without further ado, let's dive right in. Welcome to the special edition how to vlog weddings. Whoop! Okay, so let me get Casey Neistat on you guys for a bit. We're gonna talk about, like I mentioned, weddings. Is that how you spell weddings? I hope so. Boom. There are three parts to a wedding. You have your ceremony plus cocktail, and of course you have your reception. So this is what happens in a wedding. Usually this is what I like to call the hat trick. Woo! I'm not a very good animator. Alright, let's talk about the actual process. So, as soon as I arrive to the venue, the first thing I do is actually set up my reception. I have my table here, my turntables, and my mixer. I set up my speakers on a tripod. Connect it all using all my Hosa cables. I actually made a more detailed videos about the actual reception process. I'll link it up there, so if you guys want to go check that out. After I'm done setting this up, I set up my lights, I set up my facade. I got some movers over here. So this is what my setup usually looks like for reception. But then as soon as I'm done with my reception, I rush over to the actual ceremony. And what I do is actually take one of the speakers from my reception and move it over to my actual ceremony. Because ceremony is first, I actually don't need to be running sound at reception yet. I also bring a little mixer to plug in a couple of microphones. I don't know how to draw, guys, just bear with me. And I also bring my laptop and connect everything into this little mixer here. I usually don't try to be too intrusive when I'm at ceremony, whereas in reception I try to put myself directly in front of the dance floor. For ceremony, it's the exact opposite. I try to be as unintrusive as possible. So let's say that the people are sitting here, and this is where the bride walks in, and this is actually where they get married. I usually try to set off like in the cut somewhere over here or somewhere in the back. A lot of guys like setting up in the back, but again, it's your call. It's just about pointing the speaker in the right way. And I know a lot of you guys are gonna ask me, yes, I usually only use one speaker for my ceremony. You don't need to crank the sound. It doesn't have to be loud. All you need is your computer to run their entrance music in, and the microphone which you're gonna give to the officiant. You're not gonna be doing much talking at the ceremony. And in total, I usually bring three speakers, which are usually my JBL PRX 715, and a lot of you guys know, if you guys watch my vlogs, I also have one PRX 712, and this smaller speaker is actually what I use at my cocktail hours. So at cocktail, I just set it up on some corner in the room. I bring my little speaker, boom, put it on a tripod, and I actually don't even mix at cocktail. Some people do mix. I personally do not mix. I just put an iPod connected directly to the speakers and keep it at a nice volume. It's more like restaurant music, and what I tell my couples is cocktail is a great time to play music that they personally know and like, but music that you can't really dance to at the reception. At cocktail, people are hanging out, they're greeting each other. Half the time the bride and groom aren't even here, they're out taking pictures. So as soon as I'm done setting up cocktail, I'll go change into my suit and come back and start playing music while the guests are arriving. Once this is done, I tell the people our cocktail hour is now starting and point them to the room, wherever room it may be in, and I move the people from the ceremony over to the cocktail hour. Now, while people are hanging out, you know, talking and chillaxing at the actual cocktail, what I do is I start breaking down my ceremony setup and moving the speaker back from the ceremony to the reception, because cocktail is an hour long. I have 1 hour to break this down, bring the speaker back and plug everything back in, make sure that it's working, do a quick little sound check. So by the time that cocktail is done and over with, I am ready to rock and roll. Maitre d' will usually kick everybody out of the cocktail room and tell them that the reception has started and this is showtime. I hope you guys understand what exactly I just did there. I know my scribbles aren't the best, but hopefully you got an idea of what exactly it is that I do and how I do it. Alright, so let's take a look at the equipment that I use. We are using the PRX 712 powered speaker by JBL, and we have it sitting on my Frankenstand. Easy up and easy down. If you guys didn't see the video I made on this, go check it out. These are powered speaker stands and they are really awesome. Also, when I do my ceremony, I do usually bring a scrim like you see here. This is my white scrim. We come around here to the back, you'll notice that we do a bit of cable management. I bought these clips on Amazon, and basically what they do is they hold your cables so you can unclip these little clips here. And basically what you do is you run your cables through this little hook right here and you clip this onto your tripod. It's a little bit tough doing it with one hand, but oh, there it is. These are fairly cheap. I think they're like $5 or $7 for two. So I would buy 2 sets. It'll give you a nice clean look. All right, let's take a look at one of the most important parts in the ceremony system, and that is the mixer, what you use to run your actual sound. Ta-da! This is the PV1018 mixer. It's got quite a bit of inputs, of maybe more than what you actually need, and it's got XLR outputs here as well as 1/4 inch outputs. This mixer is not too expensive. It runs for about $200 on Amazon. I'll list it down below if you guys want to check it out. I'll also list this case underneath the mixer. I actually keep the cables that I use. This is what I use, but for some of you guys it might be a little bit too much. Some of you guys are just running a speaker and one microphone. Let's say you guys don't need all those inputs. What you can do is get yourself a nice little mixer like this one here. This is what I used to use back in the day, and it's actually a small Mackie Mix 5 mixer, and this is actually all you need for a ceremony setup. This is a great little mixer. You have your output, you have a microphone input, and then you also have 2 little inputs, one for your computer where your sound is going to be coming from, and the other one for a microphone for yourself. Now, one of the things that I don't like about this mixer is the fact that it doesn't have phantom power. I don't want to get too much into what phantom power is, but basically if you use some wired microphones like this one here, sometimes these little mixers won't work with wired microphones. Keep that in mind. Just look up phantom power if you're having an issue with that. But regardless of that, it's a great little mixer, and I think it runs for about $50. So now let's talk about microphones. This is a Beta 58A Shure microphone. This is what I use for myself at ceremonies. Moving on to my second microphone. This is actually my backup microphone in case my main microphone craps out on me. And you guys have seen me talk about this microphone in the past. This is my Shure GLXD microphone, and I love this bad boy because it has built-in charging, as you guys can see. I also went with the matching Beta 58A. This is a $500 microphone. And last but not least, my main microphone. This is a monster. Look at the antennas on these bad boys. These things run on TV channels, I think. This is the Shure QLXD. This is a, I believe, a $1,200 microphone. It all depends on what kind of transmitter you get. I actually opted for the Beta 58A. I like the way the betas sound, so that's why pretty much all 3 of my microphones are betas. And you can tell they're beta by this light blue ring around it. The only thing that I don't like is that the other one has built-in batteries. This one doesn't. Okay, so now that you've seen the equipment, it's time to start hooking everything up. So now let's take a look at the package that Hosa sent us to bring everything to life. Awesome. Thank you so much, Hosa, for sending out the equipment. Also, guys, one big thing, not get lazy on yourself. I've said it before in my videos. Always label your cables. As many of you guys know, I use this Dynamo, whatever you want to call it, $10 label maker on Amazon to label all of my cables. The way I go about it is basically I print out a small label that says how big the cable is and also what type of cable it is. Hosa themselves also makes Velcro ties, so if you want to pick some up. Now that we have everything ready to rock and roll, we have our speaker, we have our mixer, we have our microphones all prepped up. So now let's start plugging everything in and start bringing the sound to life. Now, like I mentioned in my previous Hosa video, Hosa makes 3 different lines of cables. They have their standard Hosa line, then they have their Pro line. The price difference between their basic line and their Pro line is not that much. A step up from the Pro line is the Edge line. The Edge is their top of the line cable, and it's actually what I recommend for when you're doing microphones. Now, Edge might be a bit of an overkill, as Edge is more designed for musicians, guitarists, and things like that. But since we're running sound for ceremony, I recommend that you at least pick up a couple of these Edge line products. Again, it's all personal preference and what your budget allows you to use. Let's get right into it. I'm going to use 2 of the Edge cables. These are 3-footers. I'm just going from my mixer to my microphone. I also have a 5-footer. 5-footer is gonna go with this little guy right here. This is what I use to make my personal announcements. Let's set it up and show you guys how it's done. Let's start off with the easiest one, which is this little guy right here. I'm gonna take my XLR here and plug it into the actual microphone, and then I take my other end. By the way, the Edge cables are gold plated, so the sound is a lot better. Boom! Okay, so let's take our 3-foot cords and go into the receivers, bam, and we're gonna go into this one right here. Pretty self-explanatory, just plug and play. Next one, exact same process. We're gonna plug into our mixer and into the back of our receiver. And there you guys have it. We are all plugged in. All you have to do is power them on, turn your microphones on, make sure that they're synchronized with their corresponding receiver, and you're pretty much good to go. Now it's time to plug in our laptop where our sound is coming from. You really are only gonna play 3 or 4 songs at max at a ceremony. You play the first song, which is the song that the bridal party and the groom actually enter into. Second one is for the bride to enter. The third one is usually an optional one, but sometimes couples do a knot tying ceremony, a candle lighting ceremony, or a sand ceremony. So sometimes you play a little bit of background music. And the fourth and final one is the exit. So it's just one exit song. So you really only need to play 4 songs. Now, because I am playing my music directly from Serato, I'm just gonna use the audio jack from my MacBook Pro. So here are 3 ways that you can actually go about connecting your laptop to your mixer. First off, you have a 3.5mm jack to RCA. This is probably your best option. This is what most people do. The next way of doing this is using your regular headphone connector to a dual 1/4" connector. The next one is actually just getting a balanced one. So this is actually a headphone jack to a regular TRS 1/4". If I was using the Mackie Mix 5, which I showed you guys before, I would probably use something like this. So we have our 2 options here. We can either go with the RCA or the 1/4" inputs here. For the purposes of this video, we're just gonna do RCA. That's the most common one. So we're gonna put the 1/4" to the side here. We're gonna go red to red and the white to the white. And we take our 3.5mm jack into our laptop. Now it's time to run our sound from our mixer into our actual speaker. These are my outputs here. I have either XLR outputs or 1/4" outputs. Hosa has you covered either way. These are XLR males to 1/4". You don't need these to be very long. I find that 15 feet is usually more than enough. It all depends on how far you're gonna put your speaker. I usually put the speaker right next to me. And the next option is actually using just regular XLRs. I'm gonna use the XLRs and I'm gonna take the female end into my mixer. I'm gonna take my second one and do the exact same thing, and then I'm gonna take my male inputs and go into the back of my speaker. So check it out, this is the back of my PRX 712, and as you can see, there's actually two inputs right here. But a lot of guys don't actually use the two. A lot of guys just go into one. But for the purposes of this video, I want to do everything correctly, so we're gonna do both inputs. Another thing that you guys may not know is that you can actually use 1/4 inch inputs with this. I'm gonna take this 1/4 inch input here, and let me do one more, and boom. If you want to use 1/4 inch to 1/4 inch, you can do that. You don't have to use XLR. But I digress. Today we are using XLRs. If you can do so, I recommend that you use XLR. Okay, so now that we have everything plugged in, speakers ready to rock and roll, microphones are ready to rock and roll, it's time to start powering everything. If you've ever bought speakers, you know that speaker manufacturers usually give you a really short power cable. And it's something that really annoys me. They only go halfway down the tripod, and then I have to take an extension cord to go right from my speaker into the actual outlet. And if you do want to run extension cords, that's fine. Hosa does make regular power extension cords that you can use. Not a fan of doing it that way. The way I like to do it is actually going out and buying IEC cables that are actually long. So this is actually an 8-foot IEC cable, and 8-foot is really all you need to go all the way from the top of your tripod to the floor where your outlet is gonna be. So this is the way to go, guys. Ever since I found out that they made really long IEC cords, I've pretty much switched all of my power cords to long IEC because it eliminates the need for extra long extension cords running everywhere. With this, it's just one. Alright, so our speaker is plugged in, powered on, and ready to go. So is our mixer, microphone, and computer. What you see now is the exact same setup that I sit in front when I am doing ceremony at weddings. Now there is one more piece of equipment that I do bring that I want to show you guys. This is actually just a microphone stand for holding your microphones. Hosa has you covered because they make these. These are Hosa branded microphone clip. The reason why I love using these is because they hold every size microphone. And I've actually had officiants get mad at me for not providing them with an actual stand. And as you can see, it holds it. This microphone is actually pretty thick. This other one is skinny. So this clip will hold either or, and as you can see, it's not going anywhere. Hey now, can you guys hear me? I am coming to you live. Mic check 1 2 1 2. Our wired microphone is working as well. This is a $150 wired microphone, and this is a $1,000 wireless microphone. What do you guys think sounds better? I personally think that this one sounds better, but again, that's just me. Let me know what you guys think based on the audio that you are hearing right now. You like this one, or do you like this one? Now let's try out the computer. Like I showed you guys, I'm just using a regular headphone jack with regular Serato running. No interface, I'm just playing tracks. Like I told you guys, you only play a couple of tracks at the ceremony. While people are arriving though, a lot of you guys ask me, what do you play while people are arriving at the ceremony? The big thing now that people love to do is playing string quartet music of popular pop songs, if you will. Oh yeah. Hey now, coming at ya. There's a bunch of string quartets that you can find on the internet that do similar stuff to this. All you have to do is type in the name of a popular song and then type in string quartet, and 9 times out of 10 you're gonna find one if it's a popular song, not the obscure ones. But most of the popular songs, they do a pretty good job of coming up with string quartet versions. Let me play you guys another one and see if you guys can guess what song it is. What song is this one? Any guesses? Can you guys guess what song this is? That was an easy one. One more. This was a little bit hard. Give me that one. That one's easy, guys. Come on. Get the idea. This is the system that I use for ceremonies. It's fairly quick to set up. It usually takes me about 15-20 minutes at most. Alright, Alright, so last but not least, let's talk about the cocktail hour. This is actually my favorite part of the night. I love cocktail hours. Even when I'm a guest at weddings, I love cocktail hour because you just get to mingle and hang out with friends and eat some hors d'oeuvres, meats and cheeses. I love meats and cheeses. Thumbs up for meats and cheeses. Now, like I mentioned, my process only requires 3 speakers. No need for individual system at each individual part of the actual wedding. 3 speakers gets the job done. The only thing that you will need though is extra tripods. I don't recommend using one set of tripods because you're still going to run into that issue of basically having to flip and switch. Now, back to the actual music. You guys may be wondering how I actually play music at cocktails, since I'm not actually mixing and I'm not actually using an actual mixer. Well, all I do is actually just bring my iPad. I sit down with my bride and groom and I actually curate a playlist for cocktail. Now, I've never really had an issue or any complaints of me not actually mixing at cocktail hour, but I know some people do prefer that you mix at cocktail hour. I personally don't think that you need to be mixing at cocktail hour because honestly, people aren't paying attention to the music. If they want me to be in there mixing, I'm probably gonna have to charge a premium because I have to have a second guy setting up the main room, and for that, you're pretty much gonna need a whole separate system. This eliminates that, but that's my opinion. I like to know what you guys think. Let me know down in the comments below what you guys think about that. Now, back to the actual music. How do we play music? Oh, I use this iPad and this little cable right here. This is another one of those cables that I showed you guys before. There are many different ways of doing it. This is just the way I do it. As you guys can see here in the back, I have RCAs and I have XLR. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna take a regular headphone jack, 2 RCAs, and plug into the back. And you don't need much slack for this. A 3-footer will get the job done for you. So here are some of the playlists. I'm gonna click on this one, Cocktail Hour for Helen and Paul. Let's turn this on here, and I usually rest the iPad on top of the speaker and make sure all my cables are tucked in nicely in the back, and I'm just gonna crank this up a little bit. Michael Bublé, everybody. It's crazy times, it's true, it's true. Man, that's just some feel-good music. I love cocktail hour. I love the music that we play at cocktail hour. I just generally love cocktail hour. Cocktail hour is my favorite part of a wedding. Let me know what your favorite part of the wedding actually is. Once the cocktail is over and everybody moves into the reception room, if I have a roadie, I'll send my roadie to go break down the cocktail hour room, and I'll have him bring me that 3rd speaker so that I can use it in the main ballroom as my monitor. And if I'm gigging alone and I don't have a roadie, I'll usually run into the cocktail room to break down while dinner is happening. Okay, and there you guys have it. That is my complete process for running a wedding. If you guys don't know what I do at reception, go check out my last video I made with Hosa, which is pretty much what I do and how I connect my system at the actual reception part of the wedding. But that's how I do my reception and my cocktail. Let me know if you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns down in the comments below. I'll be sure to respond to you guys. And once more, I want to send a huge shout out to my homies over at Hosa Technology for providing me with the cables to bring you guys this video. I'm also going to list all of the equipment we talked about, everything from scrims to tripods to microphones, mixers, every single thing down in the description of this video, so feel free to use that as a reference down below. That's going to do it for this video, guys. If you guys found this video informative, please share it with your friends. Like this video if you liked it. Let's see if we can at least get 500 likes on this video. Subscribe if you're new around here, and if you really want to help me out, you gotta turn on that bell so that you can be notified next time I do another one of these DJ tips videos. Let me know what other DJ tips you'd like me to share with you down in those comments below. Signing off, your boy, your homie, DJ Barr. Stay awesome, bros. Peace. Oh, yeah.